Manifesting your dream life could be the start of all your problems, because of course when it comes to manifesting, it's not just about putting it out into the universe and you just sit and wait for everything to go the way you want. You have to actually take the steps to create the life that you want. You have to take action. You have to do things. And one thing a lot of these people that tell you about how their vision board came to reality are not telling you is that sometimes for you to actually get to that dream life that you want, you have to take 1,000 steps backwards, because there's some things that you're believing in, some things that are in your subconscious that are actually preventing you from taking the right action to get to where you want to go. And that is exactly what happened to me. Back in 2022, I was living in France. Essentially, I was in my dream place, but I wasn't living my dream life, and that is what was causing a lot of problems for me. I mean, I was going through a severe burnout, dealing with culture shock and grief all at the same time was just a lot. I just didn't have the mindset to actually take the steps to get to where I wanted to go. So the vision board that I created in 2022 was visualizing this really amazing life, but I really didn't have the tools, or I didn't have it in me to actually get there, because there were so many things that were going on inward and mentally that I needed to deal with, get it out of the way, so I can actually walk confidently into the life of my dreams. And I've actually rarely seen a video speaking about this juncture when it comes to the manifestation journey, talking about how your vision board came to reality. It's a fact that even when you're creating a vision board at the start of the year, it doesn't mean that it has to happen during that year. It might take 10 years for you to achieve that, because it really depends on the steps that you need to take between dreaming and action for you to get to where you want to go. Taking me for example, there is no way that I was going to achieve my dream life when I was in a state of confusion, when I didn't even know what I wanted to do with my life. I was so confused in 2022 to a point where I couldn't even do anything because I didn't know what to do. A lot of people obviously don't talk about how sometimes you can have everything materially. On the outside, you look like you have everything in the world, but if you have so much confusion internally, that causes a lot of trouble in your own life, and you find people getting into addictions because they're trying to run away from their reality. And people will always be like, this person has everything, they're not even grateful. If I were them, I would do this, this and this. If I were them, I would be living the most amazing life ever. And I think this is one of the reasons why a lot of people dehumanize rich people. They don't want to listen to the problems that rich people might have, because on the outside, I mean, they have all the material things. What more do you want from life? That is exactly what happens when you actually don't have material things. You think that having material things is going to cure everything, and then you get there, and then all the things you were running away from subconsciously come haunting you, and you start wondering, what was the point of getting all these material things? You are successful on paper, but you feel like an absolute failure. And honestly, I didn't want to become that kind of person, and because I had really put it out into the universe that I wanted to live a dream life where I'm at a healthy place mentally, physically, financially, it really meant that I had to really go deep inside me and start confronting all these things that I was trying to run away from. And that is not easy, and of course I didn't want to do that, but the gods of the universe were like, no darling, you're not doing that. In fact, we are going to force you to go back home. Go stay at home and figure out your life. I recently saw a skit of someone on TikTok talking about how they prayed to God to give them this wonderful life, and God told them to leave their job, but they refused to leave their job because they're like, this is what is keeping me secure. And God is like, that is not my problem, that is your problem. You want this life, you need to quit that job. This person refused to quit that job, they got fired. And it really reminds me of so many people who have spoken about how getting fired was like the best decision, because it really forced them to go after their dreams. Because when you get fired, what choice do you have? Especially if you're someone who has wanted to leave employment for a very long time, and you've been saying it and saying it and saying it and singing it and singing it day in, day out. You don't take the action because you're afraid of not being secure, of not having stability. Then you get fired and you're actually forced to do the things that you've always wanted to do, and then it ends up going going well because that is what you were meant to be doing in the first place, but you were just afraid of doing it. That's really the hidden reality. I really like using this word, the hidden reality of manifesting a dream life. If you are not equipped to live that dream life, you are actually going to be forced to make yourself the person that is ready for that life. And sometimes that means becoming a failure, like I have become, coming back from France to living at home and not even living in the city, Nairobi, living in a village. And has been seen as like the biggest failure, and people don't even want to talk to me. They don't want to associate with me because I'm the failure. You see, that is exactly what I needed for me to actually confront all those things that I was running away from, the traumas that I had, the toxic mindsets when it comes to money, when it comes to action, when it comes to imposter syndrome, especially in my professional career. I needed to build a lot of confidence, and actually creating on TikTok and creating on YouTube have really shown me that I'm actually very good at my job. On top of that, I've realized how great I am at writing, how great I am at engaging people, how great I am at opening myself up and showing the parts that a lot of people hide from themselves, and how me being vulnerable in that way is also helping other people to heal in their own way, because they're able to see that, oh, I'm not the only one who is going through this, somebody else is going through that. I'm like, oh, there's power in this. Because as much as people may want to tell me or tell creators that our work is not valuable, the fact that someone can look at my video, listen to my own experiences, and they're able to get strength to go through what they're going through, that is incredibly important. There's nothing as bad in this world as feeling isolated, because essentially that is the root of all addiction. Drug addictions, alcohol addictions, whatever it is, they all stem from people feeling like they're alone. And to know that I can play a small role in helping many other people in different parts of the world feel like they're not alone, that is incredibly important. Now I have a lot of confidence in my work as someone that really forces people to think, to see different perspectives. I truly believe that this is like my purpose on this planet, because this is something that has always brought a lot of resistance in my life. I've always been told ever since I was young that I think too much, that I am too deep, that I shouldn't ask questions, that I should just follow what the authority says. But I've just always never believed in that, and in fact I actually don't understand how I'm like this, because I went through the same education systems that force us to just listen to authority, to obey everything, to just follow what we're being told. But that didn't end up being like that. Clearly it shows that there is a power inside of me that has been working with me to ensure that I become this kind of person who is able to remind people to become human beings. We are living in a world that is constantly forcing us to not live as human beings, forcing us to be robots, forcing us to not be emotional, but we are emotional beings. We are spiritual beings. The entire society is just invested in trying to brainwash us, and this is causing a lot of problems. And a lot of research now is showing how a lot of women are becoming sick because they've been brainwashed their entire lives to not put themselves first. This is one of the reasons why I speak about becoming a retired firstborn daughter. This is an experience that led me to getting a severe burnout, because I was trying to be the good daughter, being the good girl, and I did that for years without ever having a rest, and it caught up with me. And if I had really decided to ignore all of this and force myself to stay in France so that I can be seen as successful, I don't even know what would have happened to me. Because one thing that I've really learned is that if you continue ignoring the signs that your brain is sending you, that your body is sending you, it's actually going to turn into disease. This is why we are seeing a lot of women are getting autoimmune diseases, because of constantly forcing yourself to go and go even when your body is telling you, I can't do this anymore. It gets to a point where your nervous system just breaks down. And those who are suffering from autoimmune diseases can tell you how debilitating it is. And especially when you live in an African country, these are diseases that are very expensive to manage. They're rarely spoken about in the mainstream. And now looking back at what has been happening in the past 2 years, past 4-5 years of my life, I'm really glad that the universe forced me to be in this place at this time, because I've really had a lot of time to heal, to ask questions, to confront the things that I was trying to run away from. I've really gotten to learn a lot of things, to also separate myself from people's perceptions, from people's expectations. Ultimately, this is my life, and the only person person that is qualified to know about my life is me, because I'm the one who's living it. And now more than ever, I'm at a place where I'm really ready to live the life that I want and all that comes with it. Because again, let's be honest, if you want to live that dream life, it's not always going to be nice, because you might lose friends because they just don't agree with how you want to live your life. You might lose family members because they either don't agree with how you are living, or they now feel like they are entitled to your life and they want to tell you how to do things. You need to create boundaries. Creating boundaries is not something easy. You're going to lose people. You actually need to be very cognizant of this fact. You need to be okay to know that for you to live that dream life, there's some not so nice things that are going to have to happen, and you need to have it in you to ensure that these things don't hold you back. That is not easy at all, especially if you are a people pleaser. My goodness, this is one of the things I've had to fight, because I always wanted to be a good daughter. I was very much a people pleaser to my family, and being at a place where you're actually treated like a black sheep because you're not what they expected you to be, that has not been easy at all. Overcoming that has been one of my greatest strengths, I would say, and being able to just stand on business, stand on the things that I want to do, and actually being able to set that boundary with the people around me, that has been incredibly powerful. Of course, it has been a painful process. There were days I was just like, why am I doing this? Why am I going through this? It would just be easy if someone could just die for a few years and then wake up without all the traumas, without all the things that you're trying to run away from. A lot of people actually don't talk enough about when you're fighting invisible diseases, invisible demons, invisible illnesses. A lot of people will tell you that, oh, it's all in your head, you're just overthinking, but it's something that affects you. I've spoken about this in some of my earlier videos. I've spoken about mental health and how it's harder to do with something mentally or spiritually, because there is no scar that you can see that reminds you that, oh, you got hurt. You just feel the pain. It's not easy to believe that the pain is there. It's easy for you to believe that, oh, you're just making it up because you've been brainwashed to think that it's not real. If you get hurt physically, I mean, there's a wound there. You can tend to it. You can see when it's getting better. It's even harder when you don't have a support system that believes you, that gives you the strength to face all those things you're trying to run away from. And that has been my case. I've had to deal with a lot of that on my own. Honestly, this makes me a superwoman. It also checks out with the kind of life that I want, because I know that it's going to be a very lonely life. Honey, you go, the lonelier it gets. Honestly, that is not something that really bugs me, because I like being alone. For a very long time, I've always been okay with being alone. Maybe I've just been preparing for the life that I want. I know a lot of people feel very uncomfortable when it comes to this conversation of being alone, because they're like, oh, you need people. The reality of the matter is, the older you get, the more time you're going to spend alone. There are actually a lot of studies that have been done on this. People who get children, the amount of time that they spend with their children, it goes down as they get older. I mean, I have fought a lot of demons on my own and have come out stronger. Getting to a point where I can even say compliments like this to myself, this has been a struggle, it has been a journey, and I'm just so happy to be here. If you want to live your dream life, just know that sometimes it's not going to be rosy. You might have to get into the mud, have to deal with all these things, all the things that you don't want to deal with but are holding you back from getting to where you need to be. Honestly, after you deal with all that, it gets better. It really gets better, and you're able to look at all these things that were trying to bring you down, and you're like, you can tell me nothing. I defeated you.